My dear students of 12th class, and today in your botany we have to deal with the Mendelism or the Mendel's principles of inheritance. What Mendel deduced from his experimentation with the pea plant, you must be remembering that he took into consideration the 7 distinct pairs of traits on which he experimented on the pea plant with his crosses or hybridization and his principles of inheritance or Mendel's principles of inheritance is also known as the Mendelism or the rules of inheritance, which were discovered by Mendel. And there are 4 of them, 4 principles or laws of inheritance based on monohybrid and polyhybrid crosses. And here today we are going to take up 3 out of the 4 principles which Mendel propounded, which are based on his observations on monohybrid crosses. And first, based on his observation on monohybrid cross, you must be remembering, wherein we take only one character into consideration. Mendel proposed 2 general rules to understand inheritance, which are also called as the Mendel's laws of inheritance. The first one is the law of dominance, and the second one is the law of segregation. In general, Mendel's laws are studied under 4 headings. The first is the principle of paired factors. In a diploid organism, a character is represented by at least 2 factors. The 2 factors lie on the 2 homologous chromosomes from either parent at the same locus. That means they are situated on the same position of the chromosome. Again, in a diploid organism, a character is represented by at least 2 factors. The 2 factors lie on the 2 homologous chromosomes at the same locus, and they may represent the same, that is homozygous. For example, capital T for pure tall, small t for pure dwarf, or heterozygous capital T small t in a hybrid tall pea plants of the same character. Factors representing the alternate or same form of a character are called, as you must be knowing, are called as the alleles or allelomorphs. For example, tallness and dwarfness are the 2 factors of the character height, and they represent an allelic pair. And this is the principle of paired factors, wherein a particular character is carried by a pair of genes known as the alleles or allelomorphs, and are carried over to the offsprings in paired form. And now the first law, that is the law of dominance. These characters are controlled by discrete units which are called as the factors, which were called as factors by the Mendel, and now we know them by genes. And again, the characters are controlled by discrete units called as the factors, and the factors occur in pairs which are called as alleles. And in a dissimilar pair of factors, only one is able to express called as the dominant factor or the dominant allele. The other, which does not show its effect, is called a recessive factor or a recessive allele. The law of dominance explains the expression of only one of the parental characters in a monohybrid cross at the F1 stage or in the F1 generation, and expression of both in the F2 at the F2 stage, that is allele 2 generation. It also explains the proportion of 3:1 ratio at F2. And this is the law of dominance, wherein all the F1 hybrids are dominated by one of the factors which act as the dominant trait. In case of the height, the tall factor or the tallness is the dominant over the dwarfness. And now the third law, that is the law of segregation, and which is very important, having the universal application, is the most fundamental principle of heredity that has universal application with no exception, is also known as the principle of purity of gametes, because segregation of two Mendelian factors of a trait result in gametes receiving only one factor out of a pair. Because of the meiosis, the number of chromosomes is reduced to half, so is the number of genes. The paired factors get unpaired, and only one of the factors is carried by the gametes. Out of the pair, only one factor is carried by the gametes. As a result, gametes are always pure for a character. And it is also known as the law of non-mixing of alleles. And the fact behind this law is that alleles do not show any blending, and both the characters are recovered as such in the F2 generation, though one of these is not seen at F1 stage. And the parents contain two alleles. During gamete formation, the factors or alleles of a pair segregate from each other, such that a gamete receives only one of the two factors. And in fact, a homozygous parent produces all gametes that are similar, while the heterozygous one produces two kinds of gametes, each having one allele with equal proportion. Hope you must have understood this, and this is the law of segregation of gametes, is having the universal application. And the third law, this fourth one rather, that is the law of independent assortment. To understand that, we have to study the dihybrid cross. Thanks, have a nice day.